When I found out that Alex Garland, who made Annihilation and Ex Machina, was remaking Captain America Civil War, I was quite surprised. And then I found out he wasn't remaking it, it was an entirely new movie about a civil war in modern day America.
God bless America.
This version of Civil War takes place in an alternate future, or a kind of alternate reality, an alternate version of the United States of America, where a civil war has broken out. The movie doesn't date itself, I don't think. There's no extended prologue or a text dump at the start to kind of set the scene and give you the history of the conflict or anything. It just kind of starts and you're thrown right into the middle, or, towards the end of the Civil War. That is apart from the opening scene where the president, played by Nick Offerman, is rehearsing a press release statement type thing that does give you a little bit of context, a little bit of exposition, I suppose, as to what's happening and for this conflict. After the opening, we're just thrown into the deep end with our main characters, played by Kirsten Dunst and Wagner Murnau, I think. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of his name. He's the guy who played Pablo Escobar in Narcos. Not that you'd recognise him, because he looks completely different in this movie as he did in Narcos. They play photojournalist, press type people. They see the end of the conflict is near, and they hatch a plan to travel across country, kind of, on a bit of a road trip to get a once-in-a-lifetime interview / photo op with President Nick Offerman. That pretty much kicks off the main plot. We really don't veer off that plot for most of the movie. Pretty much every scene in the movie is from their point of view. The audience is very much locked into their journey, their road trip, their point of view. You don't really see much of the conflict around them. We just follow these guys on their road trip. That's really the main thing to bear in mind, is that it's really not a war movie. It's a road trip movie. It's a road movie. We go along with these guys on their road trip. We only really see and hear what they see and hear. And I think that's the main thing to bear in mind. It's not a war movie. It's a road trip movie. It's a road movie that takes place through a war zone, and we're very much just locked in and dialed in with these characters. We only see what they see. We only really hear what they hear. And I would say that's probably the film's greatest strength, but also its greatest weakness. The way it's filmed, for example, there's lots of shallow depth of field. There's lots of, through the viewfinder of the cameras, so we see what they see literally through the viewfinder. And that helps lock the audience in to just be really focused on what they see. The sound design deserves a bit of a shout out as well, because the way that's kind of designed really helps maintain the audience's focus just on what they see, on what they hear. They see the gunshots, they hear the gunshots, they hear the click of the camera, and that's what their mind is focused on, and that's what the audience's mind is focused on. But on the other hand, I kind of would have liked to have seen a little bit more of the wider conflict. I would have liked to have seen, what's happening. I would have liked a little bit of a fake history lesson as to what this conflict was. But, that's just me. I don't think that's a mistake of the movie. I think that's very much done on purpose. Just personally, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that. The first 2/3 of the movie are fairly slow and methodical, almost episodic in their pace, as the gang goes from town to town, from stop to stop on their journey. The last third, or the last 20-25 minutes though, is not slow paced and not episodic. It's like in your face, war zone, conflict, action, heart pounding tension. It's really, really good. It kind of reminded me of the last kind of 20 minutes of Zero Dark 30 in that sense. The script and the dialogue is also really strong in this movie as well. The characters don't say more than they need to say. Their relationships are kind of hinted at just through gestures and dialogue and whatnot. And the audience is just left to put the pieces together, to connect the dots, which is nice. I wish more movies were like that these days. Not everything needs to be spoon-fed and massive expositional dumps. It's a movie made for adults, about adult themes, about war and conflict and whatnot. It's not a kid-friendly movie. In the UK, it's rated 15, and rightly so. There's lots of like graphic, realistic violence, as you would expect in a modern day war movie. It's also the kind of movie that I was pleasantly surprised to see get a cinema release. So, kudos to A24 for that. I think it's an A24 movie. I even got to see this in an IMAX screen. My local cinema here in Scotland has it's a great screen. It's big, it's bright, it's crisp. The sound system is amazing as well. It's a really good screen to see a movie in, and a movie like this that I would have just assumed would go straight to Netflix or straight to Prime. The fact that it's getting a theatrical release is great. The performances across the board are really good in this movie. The two leads, Kirsten Dunst and Wagner Moura, the other two guys that go on the trip with them, can't remember the actors' names, but the older guy who's in Dune, and the younger photographer lady whose name completely escapes me as well. They're both good. Jesse Plemons pops up in a little bit of a cameo. He's really good. He's good in everything. He's good in everything that he's in. Nick Offerman, as I said earlier on, plays the president, but he's only in a couple of scenes as well, so it's kind of an extended cameo. Again, he's never bad in anything, so yeah, all round the acting is really good in this movie. So I'm going to go with 7 out of 10 for Alex Garland's Civil War. Captain America Civil War gets 9 out of 10, but Alex Garland's Civil War gets 7 out of 10. I think as long as you don't go into this movie expecting a big, wide, encompassing, broad scope war movie, you're going to enjoy this. It's like I said, don't think of it as a war movie, think of it as a road trip movie going through a war zone, focusing really on the characters and what they see as they go through the various conflict zones along their journey. It's less about the war, it's more about the characters. It's kind of like The Road meets Zero Dark 30 meets The Rover, is how I would describe it, which is an interesting cocktail of movies, but there you go. So yeah, 7 out of 10 for Alex Garland's Civil War. Thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button. If you want to see more like this, you can always subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.